You've been lied to about love, not by women, not by society, but by the part of your own psychology that prefers beautiful illusions over brutal truths. Every romantic movie, every love song, every fairy tale taught you the same fundamental lie, that somewhere out there is a woman who will complete you, heal you, and transform your life from chaos into meaning. But what if that very belief, that women are your salvation, is the exact thing destroying your capacity for genuine connection? The ancient Greeks had two words for love, Eros and Agape. Eros was passionate, desperate, consuming, the kind that makes you lose yourself in another person. Agape was unconditional, selfless, free, the kind that allows the other person to remain themselves while you remain yourself. Most men think they want Eros when what they actually need is to develop their capacity for Agape. Because Eros is not love, it's addiction dressed up as devotion. When you fall into Eros, you're not falling in love with a woman. You're falling in love with your own projection of what she represents, your escape from loneliness, your proof of worth, your external validation that you matter. The woman herself becomes irrelevant. She's just the canvas onto which you paint your psychological needs. This is why heartbreak feels like death. You're not mourning the loss of another person. You're mourning the loss of the fantasy that someone else could fix what's broken inside you. Consider how you behave when you're in love. Do you become more yourself, or do you become who you think she wants you to be? Do you feel more confident in your own worth, or do you become dependent on her approval to feel valuable? Do you maintain your friendships, goals, and interests, or do they fade as she becomes the center of your universe? If you're honest, you'll recognize that romantic love often makes you less of who you are, not more. You start editing yourself, censoring your thoughts, molding your personality to fit what you believe will keep her interested. This isn't love, it's self-abandonment with a romantic soundtrack. The tragedy is that women can sense this immediately. They know when you're not seeing them as they actually are, but rather as what you need them to be. They feel the weight of your projections, your expectations, your desperate need for them to play a role in your personal drama of redemption. And here's what most men don't understand. This pressure to be your savior is not flattering to women, it's exhausting. No psychologically healthy woman wants to be responsible for a grown man's self-worth. They want to be chosen by someone who is already whole, not needed by someone who is fundamentally broken. This creates a cruel paradox. The more desperately you need a woman to complete you, the less likely you are to attract a woman worth being with. Quality women are drawn to emotional independence, not emotional desperation. But let's go deeper into why this pattern develops. From the moment boys are born, they're taught that their value comes from external achievement and validation. Be successful, be strong, be impressive, prove your worth through what you do and what others think of you. Women, by contrast, are often socialized to understand that their value comes from relationships, from their ability to connect, nurture, and maintain emotional bonds. They develop emotional intelligence and social awareness as survival skills in a way that most men never do. This creates a dynamic where men often enter relationships emotionally illiterate, hoping that proximity to feminine energy will somehow heal their disconnection from their own emotional world. They mistake a woman's emotional fluency for mystical wisdom, her social awareness for supernatural intuition. But what looks like magic to emotionally underdeveloped men is simply learned skill. Women aren't naturally more intuitive. They're often more attentive to emotional and social cues because they had to be. In a world where physical strength matters less, emotional and social intelligence becomes survival. When you idealize these learned skills as innate feminine wisdom, you place women on a pedestal that ultimately serves no one. You rob them of their humanity while you rob yourself of the motivation to develop your own emotional intelligence. The woman you're idealizing isn't actually more emotionally sophisticated than you are by nature. She's simply been forced to develop skills you've been allowed to ignore. Skills you could develop yourself if you stopped expecting someone else to handle your emotional world for you. This brings us to one of the most uncomfortable truths about modern relationships. Many men don't want partners, they want emotional managers. They want someone to regulate their moods, interpret their feelings, navigate social situations, and provide the emotional labor that they've never learned to provide for themselves. But emotional management is not love, it's work. And when you make a woman your unpaid emotional therapist, You transform what could be a partnership into a service relationship where she gives and you consume. Consider how you handle conflict in relationships. Do you take responsibility for understanding and managing your own emotional reactions, or do you expect her to soothe, explain, and resolve your feelings for you? Do you approach disagreements as opportunities for mutual understanding, or as attacks on your worth that she must somehow heal? If you find yourself regularly saying things like, "You make me feel," or "When you do X, I can't help but," you're revealing that you've outsourced your emotional regulation to another person. You've made her responsible for your internal state, which means you've made her your emotional parent rather than your partner. This dynamic explains why so many relationships that start with intense passion devolve into resentment and power struggles. What begins as mutual attraction transforms into a parent-child dynamic, where she manages your emotions and you provide whatever external validation or resources she needs in return. But neither person is getting what they actually want. She wants a partner, not a patient. You want love, not management. Yet both of you remain trapped in roles that satisfy neither. The solution requires facing a truth that most men find terrifying. You must become emotionally self-sufficient before you can be truly intimate with another person. You must develop your own capacity for self-soothing, self-awareness, and emotional regulation before you can offer genuine partnership to anyone else. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally closed or independent to the point of isolation. It means developing what psychologists call secure attachment, the ability to maintain your sense of self while remaining open to deep connection with others. Securely attached people don't need relationships to feel complete, which paradoxically makes them much better at relationships. They choose partners from a place of desire rather than desperation. They can be intimate without losing themselves, committed without becoming controlling, vulnerable without becoming dependent. But developing secure attachment as an adult requires confronting all the ways you've been using relationships to avoid dealing with yourself. It means facing your own loneliness, insecurity, and unresolved emotional wounds instead of hoping someone else will heal them for you. This inner work is difficult, which is why most people skip it and jump straight into romantic relationships hoping love will solve their psychological problems. But relationships don't heal trauma, they reveal it. They don't fix what's broken inside you, they illuminate exactly what needs your attention. Every woman you've ever idealized was reflecting back aspects of yourself that you hadn't yet developed. Her confidence showed you your insecurity. Her emotional expression revealed your emotional suppression. Her social ease highlighted your social anxiety. Her presence in your life was an invitation to grow, not a solution to your growth. But instead of accepting this invitation, most men get addicted to the reflection itself. They mistake the temporary feeling of wholeness that comes from merger with another person for actual completeness. They confuse the relief of avoiding inner work with the satisfaction of genuine fulfillment. If you want to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content that challenges you to become the man you're capable of being, rather than the boy who's looking for someone else to fix his problems. This addiction to merger explains why heartbreak feels so devastating. When a relationship ends, you don't just lose the other person. You lose the borrowed sense of identity you constructed around their presence. You're forced to confront the emptiness that was always there but was temporarily masked by romantic intensity. The pain of breakup is the pain of withdrawal. Your brain was getting neurochemical highs from the constant stimulation of romantic drama, the dopamine hits of reconciliation after conflict, the oxytocin bonds formed through shared emotional intensity. When that supply is cut off, you experience genuine withdrawal symptoms. But this withdrawal is actually an opportunity. It's a chance to build authentic self-worth, rather than the fragile confidence that depends on external validation. It's an invitation to develop internal emotional stability, rather than the borrowed calm that comes from merger with another person. Most men waste this opportunity. They immediately start looking for their next romantic fix, their next woman to complete them, their next relationship to avoid dealing with themselves. They treat the period between relationships as a drought to be endured rather than a season of growth to be embraced. But what if you approach singleness differently? What if you use periods without romantic relationship to develop the very qualities that make you genuinely attractive to quality partners? What if you learn to enjoy your own company so thoroughly that you stopped needing someone else's attention to feel interesting? What if you developed such clear life direction that you stopped needing someone else's approval to feel confident? What if you became so emotionally stable that you stopped needing someone else's mood management to feel secure? This kind of inner development transforms you from someone who needs relationships to someone who enhances them. You become a person who adds value to others' lives rather than someone who extracts value from them. You shift from being a burden that needs carrying to being a gift worth receiving. But this transformation requires abandoning the romantic mythology you were raised on. It means accepting that no woman will ever complete you because completion is an inside job. It means recognizing that the perfect relationship you're searching for doesn't exist because perfection itself is an illusion that prevents you from appreciating what's actually available. It means understanding that real love isn't the merging of two incomplete people into temporary wholeness, but the meeting of two complete individuals who choose to share their fullness with each other. This distinction changes everything about how you approach relationships. Instead of looking for someone to fill your emptiness, you look for someone whose fullness complements your own. Instead of trying to become what you think they want, you remain authentically yourself and see if genuine compatibility exists. Instead of losing yourself in romantic intensity, you maintain your boundaries, interests and independence while building genuine intimacy. Instead of making them responsible for your happiness, you take ownership of your own emotional state while remaining open to shared joy. This approach eliminates most of the drama, dysfunction and heartbreak that characterizes immature relationships. It also eliminates the addictive highs that make immature relationships so compelling to people who prefer intensity over intimacy. Many men resist this mature approach to love because it seems less exciting than the roller coaster of romantic drama they're used to. They confuse the adrenaline of uncertainty with the feeling of being alive. They mistake emotional chaos for passion. But mature love offers something that immature love never can: sustainability. Instead of burning bright and crashing hard, it builds steadily and lasts long. Instead of consuming you, it nourishes you. Instead of requiring you to lose yourself, it helps you find yourself. This sustainability comes from building relationships on compatibility rather than chemistry alone. Chemistry is the initial spark, but chemistry without compatibility is like building a house on sand. It feels solid until the first storm hits. Compatibility is shared values, complementary life goals, similar communication styles, aligned expectations. It's the boring stuff that actually determines whether two people can build a life together. Most men ignore compatibility in favor of chemistry because chemistry feels more exciting. But this preference reveals something troubling. If you need drama and uncertainty to feel alive, it suggests your inner life is so dull that you require external chaos for stimulation. A man who has built an interesting life doesn't need a woman to provide excitement. He has his own goals and passions that keep him engaged. He can appreciate the calm stability of a compatible partner because he's not looking to her for the intensity he lacks within himself. This is why developing yourself as an individual is so crucial before seeking partnership. When you have your own sense of purpose, your own emotional stability, your own interesting pursuits, you become attracted to women who complement your life rather than women who provide the drama your life lacks. The irony is that this inner development makes you far more attractive to the kind of women worth being with. Quality women aren't looking for projects to fix or emotional vampires to feed. They want partners who enhance their already fulfilling lives. But let's address the elephant in the room. Many men resist developing themselves because they're afraid that becoming emotionally stable will make them boring. They've been conditioned to believe that their emotional chaos, their neediness, their intensity, is what makes them passionate and interesting. This fear reveals a fundamental misunderstanding about what attracts quality women. Emotional chaos isn't passion, it's dysfunction. Neediness isn't romantic, it's draining. Intensity without stability isn't attractive, it's exhausting. Women who have done their own inner work are drawn to men who have done theirs. They want partners who can handle stress without falling apart, who can communicate without creating drama, who can be vulnerable without being victim-like. The masculine energy that truly attracts feminine energy isn't the wounded boy looking for someone to heal him. It's the integrated man who has faced his own shadows, healed his own wounds, and built his own life. Wounded men attract wounded women. Integrated men attract integrated women. If you want to change the type of women you attract, you must change the type of man you are. This process requires examining how you've been avoiding full responsibility for your own life. Stop blaming ex-girlfriends for current problems and start asking what patterns in your behaviour contributed to those dynamics. Most importantly, develop what psychologists call emotional granularity, the ability to identify and articulate the full spectrum of your internal experience, instead of just fine, angry or sad. Develop vocabulary to express the subtle gradations of feeling that make up your inner world. This emotional granularity is attractive to women because it demonstrates emotional intelligence without emotional neediness. You can discuss your feelings without requiring her to fix them. You can be vulnerable without being victim-like. You can share your inner world without making her responsible for managing it. When you develop this capacity, something profound shifts in your relationships. Instead of looking for someone to complete your emotional vocabulary, you can engage in genuine emotional intimacy, the sharing of inner worlds between two complete people rather than the merging of two incomplete halves. This kind of intimacy is rare because it requires both people to have done significant inner work. It requires the ability to remain yourself while deeply connecting with another. It requires emotional maturity that most people never develop. But when you find it, when you connect with someone who can be intimate without losing themselves, who can love without controlling, who can commit without possessing, you discover what relationship was always meant to be. Not escape from yourself, but deeper discovery of yourself through connection with another. Not completion of your incompleteness, but sharing of your completeness with someone whose completeness complements your own. This is the goal worth working toward, not the fantasy relationship where someone else fixes all your problems, but the mature partnership where two whole people choose to build something beautiful together. But reaching this goal requires abandoning the romantic mythology that has been poisoning your expectations about love. It requires accepting that the Disney version of romance is not just unrealistic, it's actively harmful to your capacity for genuine intimacy. The idea that love should be effortless, that the right person will accept you exactly as you are without any need for growth, that passion should remain constant without any work. These beliefs set you up for disappointment and prevent you from appreciating the real beauty of mature partnership. Real love requires effort, not the exhausting effort of trying to be someone you're not, but the satisfying effort of becoming the best version of who you already are. It requires growth, not changing your essential nature, but developing your latent potentials. Real love involves seasons, periods of intense connection followed by periods of individual focus, times of harmony followed by times of working through differences, moments of passion followed by moments of quiet companionship. The men who experience lasting love are those who learn to appreciate all seasons of relationship rather than only the passionate beginnings. They understand that depth develops over time, that true intimacy requires the security that comes from commitment, that the best relationships are built slowly and maintained consistently. This long-term perspective changes how you approach dating and early relationship phases. Instead of trying to create maximum intensity as quickly as possible, you focus on building genuine compatibility. Instead of rushing toward commitment, you take time to really know the person behind the initial attraction. You ask deeper questions. How does she handle stress? How does she treat people who can't do anything for her? How does she resolve conflicts? What are her actual values, not just the ones she claims? How does she respond when you maintain your boundaries? How does she react when you're not giving her your full attention? These questions reveal character in ways that romantic conversations never can. They show you who this person really is rather than who they become when they're trying to impress you. And you examine your own responses to these situations. Do you maintain your boundaries when tested? Do you stay centered when she creates drama? Do you continue pursuing your own goals when the relationship becomes demanding? Do you remain yourself when she expresses displeasure with aspects of your personality? Your answers to these questions reveal whether you're ready for mature relationship or whether you still need to do more inner work. Because the man who loses himself at the first sign of feminine displeasure is not ready to be anyone's partner. He's still looking for someone to be his emotional parent. The path forward requires brutal honesty about where you currently are versus where you need to be. It requires admitting that your romantic problems are symptoms of deeper personal problems. It requires accepting that changing your relationship patterns means changing yourself. But this path also offers something that the endless cycle of romantic drama never can: the possibility of genuine peace, authentic connection, and sustainable happiness. Not the temporary high of new romance, but the deep satisfaction of mature partnership. The choice is always yours. Continue chasing the mirage of perfect love that will complete you, or build the inner foundation that makes you capable of real love. One path leads to endless repetition of the same patterns with different people. The other leads to the kind of relationship that actually enhances your life rather than consuming it. The woman who is genuinely right for you will not require you to become someone else to earn her love. She will see your authentic self and choose to be with that person. She will challenge you to grow without demanding that you change. She will add to your life without becoming your entire life. But you can only recognize this kind of woman when you've stopped looking for someone to save you, when you've stopped confusing need with love, addiction with passion, merger with intimacy. The path to genuine love begins with genuine self-love, not the narcissistic self-obsession that masks deep insecurity, but the quiet confidence that comes from doing the inner work to become someone you genuinely respect. This work includes developing emotional intelligence, building genuine friendships, pursuing meaningful goals, cultivating interesting hobbies, maintaining physical health, and creating a life so fulfilling that romantic relationship becomes the cherry on top rather than the entire dessert. When you've built this kind of life, relationships become enhancement rather than escape. You choose partners who add to your happiness rather than provide your happiness. You remain yourself while building something beautiful with someone else. This is what the Greeks called agape, love that enhances rather than consumes, that gives freely rather than takes desperately, that sees clearly rather than projects blindly. But agape requires maturity that most people never develop. It requires facing your own darkness instead of hoping someone else's light will illuminate you. It requires taking responsibility for your own healing instead of making someone else responsible for your wholeness. Most men will never do this work. They'll spend their entire lives cycling through relationships, looking for someone to complete them, wondering why love always turns into drama and why passion always fades into resentment. But if you're willing to take the more difficult path, the path of inner development before outer seeking, you can experience something that most people never will. Love that enhances your life rather than consuming it. Partnership that supports your growth rather than stunting it. Intimacy that reveals your authentic self rather than hiding it. The choice is yours. You can continue looking for someone to save you, or you can save yourself. You can keep projecting your needs onto women and wondering why they can't fulfill them, or you can fulfill them yourself and discover what authentic relationship actually feels like. You can remain the boy who needs someone else to make him feel valuable, or you can become the man who knows his own worth and shares it freely with someone who deserves it. The woman of your dreams isn't waiting to complete you. She's waiting to meet the complete man you have the potential to become. But completing yourself requires understanding the specific areas where most men remain emotionally underdeveloped. First, most men never learn to self-soothe. When stressed or overwhelmed, they look to external sources for comfort, their romantic partner, alcohol, or escapism. Learning to self-soothe means developing internal practices that help you return to emotional baseline without requiring someone else's energy. Second, most men never developed genuine independence from their family of origin. They may live separately, but emotionally remain enmeshed in childhood patterns. True independence means processing your childhood experiences and choosing consciously how you want to be in a relationship. Third, most men never developed a personal mission that transcends romantic relationship. They use women as their compass rather than developing their own sense of purpose. Having a personal mission means knowing what you're here to contribute beyond making someone happy. When you develop these capacities, you become what psychologists call securely attached. You can be intimate without losing yourself, committed without becoming controlling, vulnerable without becoming dependent. This security allows you to approach relationships from curiosity rather than desperation. Instead of asking, "How can I make her love me?" you ask, "Are we genuinely compatible?" These different questions lead to completely different relationship experiences. Secure people attract other secure people because they're not trying to fix, save, or complete anyone. The men who do this work discover something profound. When you no longer need relationships to feel whole, you become capable of love that enhances life rather than consuming it. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. There will be periods of loneliness as you learn to enjoy your own company. There will be moments of fear as you set boundaries. But on the other side lies something most people never experience: genuine peace in your own skin, confidence independent of external validation, freedom to love without needing to be loved back. But only you can do the work to become him. The question is, will you? If this message challenged you to look at love differently, share it with someone who needs to hear that completing yourself is the first step to finding someone worth sharing that completion with. Subscribe for more content that helps you build the inner foundation that makes outer success possible. Your growth matters, your wholeness matters, your willingness to do the inner work that most men avoid matters more than you know.